This is a 2019 BMW M850i in this beautiful Barcelona blue color. This is actually one of the first ones in the state of Arizona. Chapman BMW of Chandler actually called me yesterday and said, we finally got the keys to one. The first one is here. We want you to come make a video of it. So things are gonna be a little bit different today in this video because this is actually the first time I've even seen one of these cars in person. So instead of me trying to give you like an expert opinion, and I am by no means an expert on this car, we're gonna explore this vehicle together like we're both seeing it together for the first time. So we're gonna go around the car, look at the outside, look at the interior. It's been almost 20 years since they've made an 8 Series, and that was in the 90s. So this is the second generation. So it's gonna be really cool to see how much of a difference that there has been since the first generation edition to now this second generation, and the new engine, the new interior, the technology, everything they've done to make this car extremely special. So let's walk around the outside, dive into the interior, and then go take it for a drive. Looking at the exterior of this car as a whole, you can definitely see the bones and the DNA of the first generation. But they've made these sleek, modern, aggressive updates that just really set it off, and it looks super sharp. So let's start going around the outside of the car and start exploring some of the new things they've put on this car. Starting on the front of the car, you can see the updates they've made on this grille. It has so much more of an aggressive stance now from the front of the car because the way that the grille protrudes like that. You have these massive intakes at the bottom that look really aggressive when you combine that new grille with those intakes. And let's turn on these headlights and talk about those for a second. These are the adaptive LEDs with their new laser light technology. You can see the blue in there and the way that these LEDs wrap and the shape of them. I think these might be the coolest headlights in the car game right now. You see the lines in this hood, very aggressive. I like that. It's a big wide bolster with lines going up both sides, and then you have the aerodynamics kit here at the bottom. So with the new grille, the intakes, the hood, these headlights, that aerodynamics kit, they did an awesome job on the front of this car. Moving to the side of the car, let's talk about these wheels for a second. These are the 20-inch M wheels. You have the M braking system. You have these huge blue calipers that really pop behind this wheel, and they're on the Michelin run flat tires. Having these 20-inch wheels on this car, I think is really, really smart of them because it makes the stance of the car look really good. Now, I'm already looking at it as if this was my car, I already know what I'm gonna do. It has this carbon fiber roof on it, so I'm gonna go black on these wheels, let these blue calipers pop out from behind it even more now that they're black, and then I'm gonna match the carbon fiber roof with carbon fiber mirror covers, and here in the front will be all black as well. And on this blue color, I think that'll look really, really badass. You can see these lines coming all the way down the door like this, and it makes it look just so clean and aggressive the way that it just flows through the car like that. Something that the original 8 Series enthusiast of the first edition, and my brother actually owns a 1995 840, they could have gone with the pillarless windows. These do not have that, and a lot of the people that are very, very big enthusiasts on the 8 Series, that was something they loved about it. A lot of people liked those pillarless windows that were on there. But this looks clean. You don't see very many pillarless windows anymore. It's updated. It is what it is. I don't think that's going to stop anybody from purchasing this car. I like that they have the gloss black surrounding the window, which is another reason why I would do the other black accents I just talked about. On the side back of the car, I would say that the way that this line here comes out, if it was just plain like that, it wouldn't have the same effect. And since they put this line in here, I think that the way that the side of the car ties into the rear, and honestly, when we get to the back, you'll see what I'm talking about. I think the rear of this car is actually the coolest part of this car. But the way that they have this bolster here and this line, and it kind of connects to the back, it all flows together really well. All right, moving to the back of the car, like I said, I actually think the rear end of this car is the sickest looking part of this car. Now bear with me, don't hate me for it, but I used to have an i8, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I feel like it sort of has a similar look with these taillights and the way it bolsters out like that, and I think they just did an excellent job. You have this line going straight up the middle over this roof of this carbon fiber roof that has this concaveness in it like that just comes all the way back down, and that streamline looks very, very sick. You have these massive exhaust outputs that house the quad exhaust tips that are inside, and then between it sitting nicely, you have this rear diffuser like that. Now, there might be some people that say there's too many lines, there's too much going on back here, but I completely disagree. I think they did it just right. It has the xDrive badge here. That means it's all-wheel drive, and we'll talk about more of that when we start driving the car. Again, looking at this car as if it were mine, what I would do, seeing that you have this carbon fiber roof there and you have the black surrounding your rear window and it's already tinted nice and dark for you like that, you have this little spoiler on the back here. This would really set off by being carbon fiber or even the black to match that rear window. Before moving on to the interior of the car, let's show the trunk really fast, because if someone's interested in this car, it's a two-door car. Let's see how big the trunk is. Let's find out. I'm gonna press the button here, let the trunk go up automatically. And this trunk is massive. You could definitely fit golf clubs in here, and the rear seats go down to give you even more room, but you will never have any problem like I have with my R8 trying to fit a bag in here going to the airport or something like that. Pop the hood really fast and take a look at what we have underneath. You pull this release button twice, actually. Since there's no actual release lever under here, you just lift straight up, and there she is. That is a beautiful looking 4.4 liter turboed V8. It's actually a twin turbo V8 producing over 500 horsepower. I believe it's like 523 and right around 550 pounds of torque. Now, the Generation 1 8 Series came in a V8 and a V12. This produces, I believe, almost double what the original V8 produced, and now it produces over 200 more horsepower than the original V12 produced. That shows you the advancement in technology and what we're able to do now today. So I just wanted you guys to get a good look at this. You couldn't fit another thing in here. They have this so jam-packed and it just looks awesome. You have the M Performance badge on top. Everything's black and clean and immaculate, and I can't wait to go drive this thing and start ripping it around. To show you that the door is locked, not gonna press anything. This has the comfort access, so it senses the key, unlocks automatically. And because this vehicle is very heavily equipped, it also has the soft close doors. So you just sit the door on the hinge and automatically shuts just like that. But let's go inside, talk about the interior. Just opening the door, your first impression is incredible. The interior of this car is immaculate. Let's play around a little bit with the infotainment system in here. I am pretty familiar with BMW systems because I've owned several of them, but there's a lot of updates and changes to this. So let's play with it a little bit and see what they have. I know I heard about now that if you want to enter in, say, a destination, you can actually draw with your finger. If I want to go somewhere that starts with an S, you just draw an S on the pad and an S comes up. So it's easier when you're driving than having to scroll through all the different letters. And actually you can read it out loud to it. You can get text messages that'll read out loud to you, and you can say back to them what you want to say back. It's just making it a lot safer and keeping you from having your phone in your hand. This is also a touchscreen. So if you are driving and you can reach easily, you can actually input everything like that, which is much faster because it's on an actual keyboard. Because this is the M850, it has the M steering wheel. They did an amazing job on the steering wheel. It feels so great in your hands. You know, you're just completely surrounded by luxury. These white stitching on these leather wrapped doors, and the white stitching goes throughout the entire car on these seats. You have the gloss black through your dash. You have this black Alcantara headliner. It all just came together so well. They did an excellent job on the interior of this car, and I think this is going to be a major selling point for them. But now, the fun part. Let's go out and drive this thing, and I want to give you my initial reaction to how I think it drives, the performance of it, how it feels, the different driving modes. So let's get out there and drive it. We had some camera technical difficulties, but we finally got it figured out, and we are now driving, and man, is this thing awesome. Like I was saying in the warehouse, it's so comfortable, but the performance of this thing is incredible. There's very minimal turbo lag. You can feel that 500 horsepower. It's there on demand, it's instant, and yet it's still so controllable and just feels so smooth, and it glides. I have it in comfort mode right now, which keeps the revs a little lower. It's a little quieter. You don't hear as much of the exhaust pops. The suspension's a little softer. The steering's not as sharp. It's a much more comfortable ride, and it just feels like you're driving an S-Class. Then when I put it over into sport, the exhaust gets a little louder. The responsiveness of the throttle is there. It holds those revs, and you can feel it tighten up some, but it's still extremely comfortable. It's very smooth. You know, driving something like this aggressively compared to driving, you know, a traditional sports coupe, this is a much different experience. This is a lot smoother. It's a lot more comfortable. It's just different. And, you know, I've ridden in my brother's 1995 840 I told you about, and obviously the difference between that car and this car is going to be drastic. It's going to be much more comfortable. But it's just so crazy how far technology has advanced. The ride, just the performance, everything you're surrounded by in here. It's so cool to look back at a history of a car and just see how far it's come over this amount of time. 0 to 60 on this car is 3.5 seconds roughly. I know they are going to end up making a tune for the engine because it's turboed, which will even get that faster, even more torque, more horsepower. But right now, this car, the way that it's packaged, they did an excellent job. It is not really missing anything, you know, and I'm not being biased here because a dealer asked me to do a review. When they ask me to do a review, I always tell them up front, I'm like, listen, I'm going to be very honest about how I feel, and this car is awesome. It's excellent. They did such a good job with it. Now, if I was going to critique a few things, this is what I would critique. The noise of the car, I don't like when there's artificial noise brought through the speaker system. I don't like that. The downshift pops and gurgles, I feel like when they do it, sometimes it does sound a little bit too artificial, but there's so much good about it that it makes it very easily to forget about the small little things that should be changed. The driver cockpit now, with everything on this screen, you have your nav in the screen right now, you have a map, you can go through all of your music, your Bluetooth. You know, you have everything right here at your fingertips. The adaptive cruise control, parking assist, overhead parking cameras. I don't know what it's missing. When we opened up the hood and we looked at the engine earlier, I talked about how the original V8 had under 300 horse, and the original V12 of this car, which I've seen and I've heard that they're actually not going to end up making a V12 version of this. People were wondering if they were going to because they had one before, but now the M8 should be coming out next year, and it'll be similar to what the M5 was like this year, that same engine, and it's going to be a monster. I'm sure it's going to be incredible, and they'll probably do a few upgrades on it when they come out with it for this car. But to compare it again to the first edition of this, just thinking that before, out of a V8 and a V12, you're basically getting half the power that you're now getting out of this V8. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, when I looked it up, the 0 to 60 times on the original cars were 7 seconds. And now we're at 3.5. We cut it in half. That's just incredible what we're able to do today with our modern engineering and technology. If you want to take over control and actually shift instead of letting the automatic transmission take care of it, what you can do is push the gear shift over and you can shift. Now there's no clutch, obviously, you're still just a Tiptronic gear shift, or you can use your paddle shifters. And they did an amazing job with the paddle shifters on this car. They feel very, very secure, very solid. They just feel very high end. And when you're shifting through the gears, it makes it feel really good. When it comes to functionality and drivability of this car on a daily basis, I feel like it'd be very easy to do, simply because it's just so comfortable. You have everything you need at your fingertips, you feel comfortable. There's actually a back seat in here that I wouldn't want to sit in, but you can fit 2 people in there pretty easily. You know, you wouldn't want to go on a long road trip in this, but going to dinner with a couple friends or something like that, it's very doable in here, and you almost forget you're in a performance coupe. So something that you can drive every day, have a lot of fun driving, and yet still feel comfortable, still put bags in the back, still have people in here if you need to. That's what makes this a very, very drivable daily driver. Another simple critique I do have, and it's not even just specifically for this car, it's the system that's on a lot of the new BMWs, is this active lane assist, which means if you start to kind of drift over into the next lane, it actually takes control of your steering wheel and drifts you back. Now, if you're not paying attention and you're texting or doing something you shouldn't be and you start to drift, is that a great safety feature? Absolutely. But if you're trying to drive aggressively and you're not a big fan of using your turning signals every single time you change lanes, it is a huge pain, especially at a high speed. You know, if you're going at a high speed and you change lanes without using your turn signal and all of a sudden it jerks you back over, that's not very safe in my opinion. I think that you should be able to turn that off, and I'm not positive if you are able to or not, but if I own this vehicle, that would be one of the first things I did, would try to figure out how to get that active lane assist turned off, because I don't want to use my turn signals every single time when I'm driving aggressively. You know, people give me a hard time. They always make a joke that you don't even need turn signals on my car because I never use them. So I get that I am kind of a weird case about it. I should use them more, but still, when you're driving aggressively, you're not always using your turn signals, especially if you're on a wide open road and there's no one around. What's the point of using your turn signals every time you change lane? You don't want the car jerking you back and forth when you're trying to go between lanes. We just got some awesome driving shots, and now we're on our way back to the dealership. We're going back to Chapman BMW and Chandler to give them their car back, sadly. I think I'd want to hold on to this one for a little bit longer. But I want to say thank you to them for letting us make this video. This is a lot of fun today. And if you guys are interested in this car or any other BMW, go see John Stanley over at Chapman BMW. I've bought multiple cars from him. He always takes care of me. He's not a bullshit kind of guy. He's a very straight shooter, and that's what I look for when I'm buying a car. So if you guys are looking for a BMW or even a used car that they might have, go over there and see him. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. It's been really, really cool driving this new M850i around after all of these years of not having an 8 Series, and they finally have one again, and they did not disappoint. They did an excellent job. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this vehicle, so leave your comments down below. Please subscribe. We have a bunch more videos coming to you. The last you saw my R8, it was before we had dropped it off, and I told you we were going to do a big wrap reveal soon. So it has been finished, but I'm actually getting some new brakes put on it right now, and when we get that back, we're gonna make that video for you. So stay tuned, subscribe, please give this video a like, and I hope one day your dream car will become your real car.